Transmission.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Open Eyes Network News. The video that you're about to see was actually part of a full show of Open Eyes that aired on Friday, June 24th, 2016. The full show, 2 hours long. If you guys want to watch the full show archive, you can do so right here on youtube.com. The link for it, I'll put as an annotation. You guys can click on it by clicking on the image in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen when this video starts playing. But I thought that the information was important enough to bring out and give it a video of its own. So that's why you're seeing it as an excerpt of this full show. Now, I will say that in the video, I said 97%. I meant 95%, but I was kind of on a rant. It was live, and that was the number that came out. But you guys will know what that's referring to once it gets to it. Anyways, like I said, I thought this was an important enough information to get out on its own video for those that were not able to watch the live show and don't want to take the time to watch the full 2-hour archive of the show. You can use this information. I highly recommend, though, watching the whole video, watching the whole archive of the show, because I talked about propaganda and I gave you tools to be able to recognize when propaganda is being used against you. And it's really important information, really good to know, so that you can have the knowledge and have the foresight to be able to avoid when you're being propagandized. So again, highly recommend going and watching that video. Be sure to subscribe to my channel. We bring you new things every day, and we will see you again soon. All right, so next news story that I have to bring up, and then we'll hit a break here real quick. The FBI created their own terrorist plot and then foiled it. So once again, and this is not the first time by any ways and means, once again, the FBI has appeared to averted a terrorist plot of its own manufacture by arresting 57-year-old William Keebler, a man from Stockton, Utah, who was described in press accounts as a militia organizer exhibiting an extreme hatred for the federal government. He was a critic of the Bureau of Land Management, who was present during the April 2014 standoff in Bunkerville, Nevada. He was also a close friend of Lavoy Finicum. FBI agents arrested Keebler in Nephi, Utah on Wednesday morning after he allegedly attempted to bomb a vacant cabin owned by the BLM. Now, according to a federal document, for the past several months, FBI undercover operatives have been members of Keebler's militia, which was called the Patriot Defense Force. They met at his home in Stockton. Many times he spoke about the fact that the BLM is overreaching their authority to implement grazing restrictions on ranchers, and insisted that state and local governments, rather than Washington, should be in charge of public lands in the western states. Well, he's not wrong. The Bureau of Land Management is an illegal organization. It is an illegal bureaucracy built on behalf of the federal government, and there is no constitutional authority behind their existence. There's no constitutional mandate for their existence. It's on the same par with the Bureau of Indian Affairs. So the feds got it in their head that they needed to make this man more radical so that then they could bust him and remove him from the gene pool, is essentially what it comes down to. So what they did was they had a federal informant tasked with building Keebler an explosive device. And this is according to the federal government itself. The documentation itself states that a federal informant was tasked with building Keebler an explosive device. And then he exploded it, showing that he was able to make this device. Now, essentially what was made was a 6-inch pipe bomb and he blew up some abandoned furniture in the mountains of southern Utah. So, again, this is a federal agent doing this without Keebler's approval, advance knowledge, or involvement. And then, allegedly, Keebler, a couple of weeks later, selected the BLM cabin in Arizona as a target. So this FBI-controlled informant produced what he described as 2 pipe bombs, one to be placed on the target and detonated via remote control. The other was to be used against law enforcement in the event that that was necessary. So someone, the document doesn't specify who, placed an inert explosive device against the door of one of the BLM cabins in Mount Turnbull. After the device was placed against the door, Keebler was handed a remote detonation device. Keebler then pushed the detonation button multiple times in order to remotely detonate the inert explosive. FBI agents later arrested him in Utah. So here we have a guy who was not radicalized, but was speaking in terms that could be considered to be extreme to them. But he was not radicalized. He was not violent. He was not out to commit any kind of violent acts or anything along those lines. He just was speaking out against the situation. And once again, the FBI has done this before. They've done it multiple times. They did it with Oklahoma City. They did it with the World Trade Center buildings in the 90s. They've done it over and over and over again. They will themselves build explosive devices and blow them up, trying to get these people radicalized to the point where they're willing to do it themselves. So that's what we have in this situation. This guy was not radical, was not extremist, just had what they consider to be extremist views. But on the face of things, they're very reasonable views. He's not wrong. Maybe I'm going to be radicalized later. Who knows? By the way, I'm never going to blow anything up. So if somebody tries to claim that about me later, you know, it's not the truth. I'm also never going to commit suicide. So if, later down the line, somebody says, oh, he committed suicide. No, never. Lie. You'll know it's a lie and propaganda at that point. Anyways, so the FBI themselves are the ones that are responsible for causing this radicalization in people. And they should be the ones that are held responsible for any kind of actions that come about because of it. Because they're the ones that are pushing people. Yes, the guy was wrong for pushing that button, but he never would have pushed that button, or most likely would have never pushed that button, if it was not for the FBI themselves that were pushing him to do it. That propagandized him and turned him into a radical extremist. Now, the same can be said on the other side of the coin with what you see happening in the Middle East. Many of the people that are over there that are radicalized because of the same kind of situations. They get pushed. Someone points them in the right direction at the right moment in time, and boom, there they go. So it's a pretty common theme with all of this. And the FBI, they claim that the reason why they do this is because they want to remove the threat in a controlled way. Well, the problem is there was no threat until they created the threat. So there's no threat involved unless and until they themselves create the threat. It's problem, reaction, solution. Okay? They create the problem. They have the solution, so they're causing the reaction that will push that solution forward. So it's maybe more along the lines of solution, problem, reaction. You know, maybe that's the case. Anyways, like I said, it's to me, it's just yet another example in a long string of examples of the FBI and their blatant involvement in pushing people over the edge in order to then parade out, look, we're stopping terrorists. Look, we're stopping extremists. Look at what we've done. We need more funding. We need more laws and regulations to come down on everybody's heads because we're obviously doing good work. Is it the same kind of good work that the TSA has done? You know, where these people in the TSA, they found, or they've stopped how many terrorists? 0. But how many people have been arrested that are employed by the TSA over the past 15 years? Somewhere around 4,000. You know, these people are arrested for different things like, theft, molestation. This is the same TSA, by the way, who has a failure rate of 97%. And that's no joke. The Pentagon is very upset because things were leaked out a couple of months ago. The results of their testing that was done. The TSA, they had to have certain testing done. So what they did was they put through explosive devices, weapons, you name it, basically. They had it going through these different TSA checkpoints in the airports. And what they found was that 97% of the things that were put through were not caught. So a 97% failure rate by the TSA. And, of course, the Pentagon was not upset about the fact that the TSA has a 97% fail rate. They were more upset about the fact that somebody released this information and we're trying to find the person that was responsible for releasing this information, as opposed to let's actually do something to cause this 97% failure rate to be a little bit better, perhaps. I mean, how many freedoms have we lost? How many people have waited for hours in line waiting for the TSA? You know, there was a big blow up about that just a few weeks ago about the enormous amount of wait times that were going on in airports. Well, do we really need the TSA if they have a 97% fail rate? No, we absolutely do not. Absolutely do not. They will find a bottle of water and they will say, "Oh, well, this is a potential explosive device." And so they'll throw it away into a trash can sitting next to them filled with other bottles of liquid that, I mean, they're sitting right there. So if these are potential explosive devices, why the hell are they sitting right there 5 feet away from you with 100 other of them sitting in there? It makes no sense unless it's being done just to make life more difficult for people and to take yet more rights away from we the people. And that, my friends, is exactly the purpose of the TSA. They're not there to protect us from terrorists. They're there to molest grandma, to stick their hands down her panties at the slightest sign that she sneezes or coughs. They molest 2 and 3 and 4-year-old children on a constant basis. That's what they do. They don't protect us from terrorists. They're there to steal, to molest, and to make life more difficult while taking more and more rights away from we the people. That is the entirety of their purpose. Prove me wrong. Show me statistics of where they've actually done something to cause us to be safer. Show me statistics. I just showed you the statistics from the Pentagon itself, a 97% fail rate. That's the statistics. That's the truth. That's the fact. Now you show me proof that the TSA has done some good. Anywhere. Where have they done any good? I would say, my friends, you're going to be very hard pressed to find that proof.